A very pleasant morning to you and welcome to the Idea Morning Digest. And I can say this is a wonderful Friday. I just feel like the air is, there's this goodies in the air. I don't know if it's because tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Yes.
What is Valentine? Do you have a vow?
Oh, you don't know what Valentine's is? It's a shame.
I almost didn't remember because the month has been going so slow. And for the very first time in a long while, you didn't say what today is.
I was going there.
You were going there.
I was going there.
Okay, I thought I caught you.
Yes, you did. I was going there. Or maybe it's because I heard on the radio while coming to work, they're talking about Valentine and lands up for sale that some of these real estate houses
when
are getting.
you're not in a relationship, sometimes you forget about
about some certain things. But don't worry, God is on our side.
And viewers at home.
Yes, very good morning. Today is the 13th, of February 2026. And this is how we start our morning with you. And we're happy that you're kickstarting your morning with us as well. So if you like things we do here, issues that matters, things around policy, things around governance, things around science, technology, health, business, entrepreneurship, research, development, you name that, anything that concerns development and innovation, this is the right place to get a better perspective of it. This is the Idea Morning Digest. My name is Cynthia Basi, and I welcome you once again. And of course, I'm with Adewale. Yes, Olashupo. Yes.
Why are you pronouncing my surname?
Shouldn't I? Well, then let's see the headlines we have for today. We'll be bringing you a whole lot more. You'll be seeing across the headlines, you will be seeing the discussion segment, and of course, we'll have our senior analysts come join us to dissect all of the issues we are bringing your way today. And of course, later on, to end the show, we'll be bringing you the weather report. Yes. The first story we have here is that the federal government blames vandalism, blocked drains for flooding on coastal highway, and then workers protest. NAFDAC insists enforcement of such a alcohol ban continues, and China rejects claims of funding militias illegal mining in Nigeria. SEC NOA launch nationwide push against illegal investments. This and more is what we'll be bringing your way. You stay with us until after the break.
Number 2, advanced neurotechnology beyond BCIs. Brain-computer interfaces grabbed headlines when Neuralink implanted its first chip in 2024. But neurotechnology is much broader. Researchers are testing non-invasive brain stimulation to treat depression and PTSD, while companies like Kernel are developing helmets that can monitor brain activity with unprecedented detail. Clinical trials are exploring personalized brain therapies for epilepsy and Alzheimer's. In 2023, the U.S. NIH launched its Brain Initiative 2.0, investing billions in advanced neurotech. By 2026, these innovations could expand from medical use into wellness and cognitive enhancement. Number 3.
You're still watching the Idea Morning Digest, and it's good to have you back. So the first story we'll be bringing your way this morning is that the federal government has warned that rising vandalism of public infrastructure is threatening major roads and bridges in Lagos, including the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, said on Thursday in Abuja that repeated vandalism along the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway has damaged protective installations and disrupted construction despite increased security. He said the highway has become a hotspot for sabotage, with wires, barriers, and fittings being cut and stolen. Umahi explained that recent flooding along the coastal road was caused by blocked underground drainage channels as refuse was dumped into manholes, preventing water from flowing freely. He said the situation worsened when people illegally accessed restricted construction areas, undermining completed sections of the road. The minister also raised concerns about Lagos, including Third Mainland Bridge and Qatar Bridge, linking structural damage to vandalism and illegal sand mining. He warned that continued destruction would force repeated repairs, slow development, and increase costs, urging citizens to help protect public infrastructure. Well, this story is not so good to hear, because first of all, the flooding and the vandalism issue around the Lagos Calabar coastal highway, and why it is happening. That's what I keep asking myself. Why is this happening? Because when I listen to David Umahi, when I hear what I hear beneath the official language, beneath what he was trying to say, is frustration. You know, you are working and then your effort is being, thwarted one way or the other. We're not just talking about the broken cables. We're not just talking about the, stolen fittings and, whatnot on the road. It's about this recurrent, this pattern of vandalism. I mean, it's no longer news again in Abuja that those manholes, they carry the covers of the manholes and we don't know where they take it to. You just come back the next morning and you can't find the cover on those to those manholes, and all of these things are not so good to hear. You get to see big projects announced. We get to see billions of naira, even dollars poured into this project, and then same public that are demanding responsive public services will come back again and scatter all of these things, destroy all of these things, and all of these behaviors will not. All of this kind of behaviors hinders progress. It hinders growth and development in a country. Sometimes I even wonder, I ask myself, what do they think before they do all of these things? And we compare Nigeria to other developed foreign nations, and we're like, oh, this place is beautiful, this is how the US is, this is how Canada is, this is how UK is. And then down here, who made Canada what it is? It is people. Not like aliens flew in from where I do not know and then came into Canada or came into the US or came into the UK to come and make it beautiful. It is the handiwork of people. So if we cannot come together to, assist, after we'll start blaming the government. If we cannot come together to, assist the government, I don't know what we are doing as citizens. It is very, very bad that we get to experience all of these things. And even the flooding issue, Lagos first of all, and flooding issue, I think as of last year, did they call the minister in charge of works in Lagos State was trying to do something about commissioner of works in Lagos State was trying to do something about the environmental issues. I think it was called out on national TV, and he defended it with so much backings and whatnot. So flooding here, first of all, is not even a mysterious climate punishment, if I even want to put it that way. When drains are blocked, when water has nowhere to pass, places are not constructed properly. What makes this even very uncomfortable for me is that it's often ordinary, everyday actions. Dumping refuse where we shouldn't dump it, sneaking things into restricted areas, building where you shouldn't build. All of these things are what accumulate into this kind of happening. So this is not time to say the government did not do. Sometimes we listen to the government, because I've been following up with Lagos environmental strategies, what they're trying to do for Lagos State, and I've been seeing a whole lot of things. So I don't think when we see that some of the bridges we are trying to, we're looking at growth and development here, and then these efforts are being, tarnished one way or the other. I don't want to say dwell much on it. Let's hear what you have to say.
I think, first of all, this is a fitting and sad developments that we're seeing at the new coastal road that is being built from the Lagos section or the Lagos part of the road. And the Minister of Works himself, David Umahi, has highlighted some of those challenges that they are facing when it comes to saboteurs. You mentioned people removing manholes, breaking the iron meshes that are used for the construction, or the granites that are being used to fill up those dredges that has been made to facilitate the smooth run of the highway. So we're seeing a lot of saboteurs, and I think this is one of the quality of the government that we have is a reflection of our own citizens. And I think this is a part where we need to look at the kind of citizens that we have in this country. Are they people who are educated? Are they people who are saboteurs of government efforts? Are they also people who understand the consequences of their own actions? But now is the time that I think we must put all resources together to be able to solve this problem, because it's a very depressing video to watch. I saw the video trending online where the road, a very large section of the road has been covered by rain. And if we allow this to happen, this is a project, one of the largest, whatever you see about this government, whether you like them or not, they've embarked on this project. It's on the responsibility of Nigerians to ensure that it is successful. Whether or not we criticize them about the transparency of the deal that has been made with the public-private partnerships that we have, because Nigeria is not funding a large part of it. Large part of it is being funded by the private institutions. So if we have the private institution bringing in their money and the public institution as well, the government are bringing in their money, and then we have the population, the ordinary people frustrating this effort, or some specific elements of the society going into these facilities, taking things that are supposed to ensure that the entire system work cohesively, to be able to ensure that we achieve what we want to achieve in the number of years, perhaps 8 years or 9 years that we're going to use to build this thing. So it's a very worrying development, and now is the time that I think the government should focus on orientation, the government should focus on security, and the government should have the monopoly of violence when it comes to this. There are some situations where no matter how you discuss it with them, when during the Fashola era and during the Ambode era, we saw that you mentioned about the Lagos, and that's why I'm bringing this example, because we saw during their own time, they made street laws and heavy fines were being paid by people who violated those laws. And I think this is what we should do as well when it comes to public properties. We've seen a lot of vandalism when it comes to especially manholes, those ones that are covered with iron casted covering. So imagine people walking at night at the walkways, they are not even looking at it. A lot of people are falling victim of things such as it has been displayed on the TV right now. And we had extensive conversation on this, and the federal government has also mentioned, and the contractors also said that they're not going to be using a lot of things that can be stolen. They're trying to use rubber, but we've seen that even the rubber has been stolen. From there, so what can we actually do? That's why I think the government should have monopoly of violence when it comes to this. It should be able to arrest people that prosecute them and parade them when necessary, and also make it very popular. Let the news be everywhere. Let people see that when you do this, this is the consequence that you get. Even people going from their own houses and going to those facilities to dump their refuse there, it is not done. We can't continue to frustrate the government's efforts, just like you mentioned. If we want progress for our country, the government can do their own. We can hold them accountable, but we must also do our own responsibility as active citizens, as respectful citizens of Nigeria. We must also do our own part. And when you see something, you say something. When you see your neighbor trying to dump the refuse there, you know that when the road block and there is flooding, it can almost come to, almost certainly will affect you, the houses or the communities living close to those facilities. So if you're seeing things being done that can affect you and you're not speaking for it, when it happens, it's going to affect you as well. And the federal government will not be there to cater for you. There are no insurances that will help you to pay back the properties that are damaged by the flood. So I think we all need to put our resources and put our hands together to achieve this, because at the end of the day, if this project is not successful, you blame the government, but the people will suffer for it.
Exactly. Well, you've said it correctly, but we have to move on. The next story we have here is that workers from affected distillery companies yesterday protested outside the Lagos office of National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control, demanding a halt to the enforcement of the sachet alcohol ban and the release of seized products. The protesters under the Food, Beverage and Tobacco Senior Staff Association said factories and depots had been sealed, threatening jobs and livelihood. In response, NAFDAC, led by its Director General Mojisola Adeyeye, said it had received no formal directive from the federal government to suspend enforcement. The agency described reports of a government-ordered halt as false, insisting the ban remains in force to protect public health, particularly against underage alcohol access. Meanwhile, the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation clarified that the document suggesting a pause in enforcement was an old statement from December 2025, recently recirculated in error. Officials said no new decision has been taken and discussions continue on balancing public health concerns with economic impact. I think this one is emotionally charged, and I get why, because jobs matter, livelihoods matter, but what is of importance the most is that health matters, and agencies like the NAFDAC would not just come out and start looking for trouble anyhow. It is when they have seen I would say recurrent pattern again. It's when they have seen that this thing have adverse negative effect on people's health, on livelihood, on one thing or the other before they will come out. And tracing Mojisola Adeye's leadership or regime, I feel like she has built her reputation on strict enforcement. I mean, from 2024 to throughout last year, 2025 until this year, we've been here. The NAFDAC have been on the news countless times for one enforcement or the other, and they have been doing good work. So I feel like the ban of this sachet, what do they call them? Alcohol didn't become, controversial because it tastes bad. It is because NAFDAC have noticed that this thing is an issue. First of all, it is easy to access, it is cheap, it is light, you can carry them about, you can hide them in everywhere, and and the major problem, it is widely accessible by teenagers, by young people, and I think that's a very big problem. But the confusion over whether the ban was paused says more about Nigerians' communication gap than policy, flip-flopping, if I should put it that way, or policy turnovers. Because when the office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation had to clarify that an old memo was recycled, then it exposes how quickly misinformation can, inflame tension. Because I've always said that we have a problem. Aside every other problem, we have a very huge communication gap in Nigeria. The federal government might be saying something else. State government will be saying another thing. Agencies will be saying another thing on the same issue, and then the public will be left in, confusion. So I think this is why the manufacturers, workers in these industries have come out to say, you are taking away our livelihood in as much as you are trying to protect our livelihood. So I guess that there is a confusion here. That is what is sparking this tension, which should be sorted. Because the uncomfortable truth, yes, the uncomfortable is that enforcement without, transitional plans, without plans that won't hurt workers, without plans that won't hurt, because this is where people get their earn a living from, anything that will hurt workers, anything that will hurt people's livelihood, we will only the enforcement will only hurt the enforcement as well. So we have to think out of the balance here. We have to do the check and balance and see how we can bring we can communicate things properly to the public, communicate things properly to even as agencies, so that we'll be on one track. Because if this agency is saying another thing, this other one is saying another, I don't know where this conversation is going. I feel like the growing up conversation isn't about the ban or no ban here. It's how to regulate alcohol. Because alcohol too is important. So this is not me advocating for or against alcohol. It is important somehow. You go to the hospital and sometimes the doctor tells some people to take a little bit. There needs to be a little % of alcohol in your body.
Are you sure it's the same alcohol sachet that you're selling?
That's what I'm saying, is to know how to regulate it. So we know that the right thing is, people are consuming the right thing, is not the ones being produced in people's backyards. So they should let's just talk about regulation here. I think the problem is about regulation and proper communication.
Oh, okay. Now let's let's look at different parties to this issue right now. One is the regulatory agency, and they have a responsibility to ensure that there is regulated use of or drinking or accessibility to alcohol. Alcohol is usually supposed to be for people who are of age, have 18 and above, and should be provided to people in a certain kind of condition. And should be accessible in certain locations and not widely for many people. We've talked about children having access to it. There have been many videos circulating online of children drinking this sachet alcohol because it's available for them, it's available to people that are around them. We've also seen drivers drink this while they're driving. So people, they say, I need my kai kai to clear my eye in the
One for
morning on the road. So while they're driving, they're also sipping it. So that's easy accessibility for them, and it's causing a major problem to the child, to the driver, and to the number of people who abuse the use or the drinking of this alcohol products that we have in Nigeria. So they have a responsibility for that. And there has been a directive that there should be a ban on it. And that ban has to be enforced. And that's when we have the other party who is aggrieved, who are the producers of this, or the marketers, or the normal women you see around in bus stops or garages that sell this to their larger customers. So these people are also saying that you're taking away our livelihood. This is what we've been selling to eat. This is from where I feed my family, or send my child to school, or feed myself and not become a nuisance to the society. Or companies are saying that we've invested in it, and then you're just bringing up this regulation and trying to disrupt my entire business structure. People are also going to lose their job. So this is a conundrum that the government has found themselves. And I think a responsible government must be able to come to the needs of the people. What do you have to do to ensure that this transition process that you mentioned is easier for people to go through?
Exactly.
Are you making it available in a very affordable rate for people to get, or you're making it, or you're putting part of any intervention that you can put in place to ensure that this process is as less painful for the marketers or the producers or the sellers of this as possible, and also for the consumers as well.
Exactly.
I mean, having access to buy this thing for, I don't know how much they say because I don't drink, maybe 100 or 200 naira, or let's say 500 naira that they have access to it. Imagine then having access to a bottle of alcohol for 3,000 or 5,000 naira. They can be able to have access to that because it is more expensive than they normally can afford. So the government then have to come in, but the enforcement has to come, because we cannot say because some people are making money from it or people are living off it, we should deny the negative consequences that can come from the continued sale of this sachet alcohol. But another thing that you mentioned, which I've always advocate for from the federal government, is the dissemination of information. We had the news yesterday. We read the news during our news bulletin, and also all major newspapers and major news platforms in Nigeria also broke the news yesterday that the federal government has eased the enforcement and lifted the ban and all of that. Only for the Secretary of the Government, to the Secretary of the government, to mention that this is actually an old announcement or an old information that has been recirculated as a new one. So we need a proper channel of information passed from people. I've always said that the government of Nigeria, it's not even about President Tinubu's administration, even previous administration have always looked at information as things that is beneath them, communicating to the people as something of a secondary value. It is a primary responsibility of the government that you must be able to communicate. What's bad in having something like the press secretary that we have in the United States? If we practice a similar system that is, likened to the federal system of government that the United States practices. So we should have our own state house. It is not people that will just release things in the newspaper. How many people have access to newspaper? Or how many people watches the news online? Do the needful in ensuring that there's a smooth transition towards the better product. I don't know what the government wants to enforce.
Exactly. I think enforcement is the better enforcement, clear communication, just like we've clearly emphasized, and stronger regulation. And if these regulations are put in place, let people get clear information about it. But then let's see the next story we have here. China has denied allegations that it is funding militias and backing illegal mining operations in Nigeria. In a statement issued yesterday, the Chinese embassy in Nigeria described claims by United States lawmakers as completely baseless and misleading. The response followed the introduction of a bill in the United States Congress which alleged that some Chinese nationals involved in illegal mining were paying protection money to armed groups and fueling violence. Beijing said it has zero tolerance for illegal mining and insists its citizens and companies must obey Nigerian laws. The embassy added that most Chinese mining firms operate legally, support local communities, and are themselves victims of insecurity. It said China respects Nigeria's sovereignty and will continue working with Nigerian authorities to strengthen mining governance and security cooperations. I mean, this has been in the on the news for a very long time, but I believe that we have paid no mind that much in Nigeria. We've been disregarding. I don't know if it's because we have many attendance issues, in Nigeria over the past how many years, I don't know, but this has been an issue. It has been on the news. I've seen many videos circulating and people, claiming or alleging that Chinese nationals are in Nigeria and are carrying out illegal mining, especially reports from Nasarawa State, if I'm not mistaken. But then, I just feel like these diplomatic statements are always, should I say, polished. But I feel like this particular one from Chinese embassy in Nigeria deserves careful attention, deserves careful reading. We shouldn't disregard this news. It is very, very important because the allegations raised here in the United States Congress is not just about China. It's about how, going back to regulation again, let's talk about regulation again, and that's security you talked about. It's about how weak regulation is, about how, if you're being called out, because the Chinese government is being called out right now, this is the U.S. Congress calling them out to say, stop what you're doing in Nigeria. So if you get a call out like this, I think the best thing is to not to defend, is to go and, carry out investigation and see if this is truly happening and know what to do. And I feel like it happens on the ground where, you will see gold, you will see minerals, all of these things attract armed groups. The next thing you start to see, they'll start forming what we don't know because of money. And we know that in these parts of the world, we can allow some certain things because money moves faster than enforcement. So I think it's something that both China and Nigeria need to pay attention, serious attention, because Nigeria often looks outward for villains instead of fixing our own oversight gaps, because we have so many oversight gaps. Like I started off mentioning. So we have to do something about disregarding things and paying little concerns about important issues, because illegal mining, first of all, it's only going to survive in a place that do not have proper systems, that do not have a good system. And all of that, I just feel like this is something we should, governance should be tightened. Nigerian governance should, be tightened. And I mean, communities should be carried along, because it happens in most of our rural communities. Maybe that's why they do not see them and get to talk about them that much. But then,
well, if they can have access to electronic transmission in rural area, how do they have security? But that's by the way. This, I think, is this development is not coming out of the blue. It's been circulating online for a very long time that there are foreign elements in our country cutting away our resources, especially when it comes to mineral resources that we have in the country. But first of all, let's look at the context of the conversation. This is not coming out of the blue. Just like I said, it's coming with the pretext of the rivalry between the United States and China when it comes to economic power and military power in the world. So there is that conflict between the both of them. While America dominates mostly the world economy, China is the largest trading nation in the world and the largest producer of all goods, commercial goods as well in the world, and they're also transitioning into high-end production for their country. So there's that rivalry between the country. So you see officials from governments in the US and want to say something bad about another country, and another country have to defend themselves. So that's the diplomatic and geopolitical clashes that America and China experience. They're trying to balance out or find influences when it comes to their trading partners or the people that they collaborate with. But that's on their side. Back to us in Nigeria, we have a responsibility, just like we said. The onus is on us to ensure that we ensure safety of our society,
Exactly.
and ensure that our mineral resources are only evacuated or only mined through regulatory bodies or through regulatory institutions or through approval from regulatory institutions. We've seen instances of stories where they're saying that some people fly helicopters into Nigeria, even find aircraft, planes into Nigeria in the dead of the night, and then they cut away with many natural resources that we have. And the Ministry of Ministry of Mineral Resources that are also doing very well to ensure that there is regulatory procedural intervention coming into play to ensure that there are licenses that are being approved, given to mining companies as well. And China also coming to say to defend themselves. There's nothing that they will do but to defend themselves. So they can't come and tell us that, oh, we've been stealing from you. That's not going to happen. But we need to understand that we have the responsibility to investigate this. Is it true? Is it coming as a result of the rivalry between China and America? Or is it a really fact, or is it a factor that is really happening in our community? Because when there is an illegal mining, there's going to be pollution, and when there's pollution, it affects the people. And lastly, it comes back to the effect on the economy when our resources that are supposed to be beneficial to our nation and to our people is being taken away by external forces in collaboration with Nigerians, because this can't happen without people in communities, without people in their own local areas. So you see them, just like they mentioned, you see people bribe bandits like this, or people bribe community leaders or agents or groups just to ensure that they are protected or information doesn't get out. But when you collect money from foreign actors in the country and they take away resources that are supposed to benefit you, was it recently that the British Museum said it's going to return Benin Bros into Nigeria? How did they take it away? They didn't take it away by just looting it away. I mean, a percentage of it was also sold by Nigerians themselves. I mean, illegally sold by Nigerians to these external companies or external people. So we need to be very vigilant. We need to do our own due diligence to ensure that our resources is beneficial to us and we're not falling to the trap of the rivalry between two superpowers in the world.
Very well said, Wale. I think let's take the recap of the headlines we brought your way so we can go to the discussion segment. We brought you news that federal government blames vandalism, block drains for flooding on coastal highway, and you also saw that workers protest. NAFDAC insists enforcement of sachet alcohol ban continues, and then China rejects claims of funding militias illegal mining in Nigeria. Let's go on this short break, and after this break we'll be seeing the discussion segment. We'll be talking about the rising threat of new nicotine products and youth exposure in Nigeria.
Number 6, digital twins for cities and industries. Digital twins, real-time virtual replicas of physical systems, are expanding fast. Singapore has already built a national digital twin to simulate urban planning, monitor traffic, and manage energy use. In manufacturing, companies like Siemens and GE use digital twins to model factories and machines, cutting downtime and improving efficiency. During the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, organizers tested digital twin technology to manage crowd flow in logistics. Analysts at Deloitte predict that by 2026, nearly 70% of large industrial companies will use digital twins in some form, making them a core part of operations. Number 10, advanced cybersecurity with AI and quantum resistance. Cyber threats are growing as fast as the technology protecting against them. In 2023, the U.S. saw over 3,200 reported ransomware incidents, according to the FBI's IC3 report, a 74% increase from the year before. AI-driven cybersecurity tools are now being trained to spot anomalies in real time, identifying breaches before they spread. At the same time, researchers are developing quantum-resistant encryption. The U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, has already selected new post-quantum cryptographic algorithms, preparing for a world where quantum computers could break today's encryption in seconds.
Good to have you back, and yes, like I said before we went on that break, we're bringing to you the discussion segment. We'll be talking about something very, very crucial, because Nigeria is no longer news that Nigeria is grappling with continuous public health challenges, and Yes, a new concern is quietly gaining ground as well. The spread of new and emerging nicotine products targeted at young people. While traditional cigarette smoking is declining, tobacco companies appear to be reinventing their strategies, introducing products that look modern, colorful, flavored, and to many users, deceptively harmless. A recent report launched by Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa in collaboration with Vital Strategies raises serious red flags about how these products are entering Nigerian markets, exploiting regulatory gaps, and increasingly exposing children and youth to nicotine addiction. So this discussion is not just about smoking, it's about public health, it's about regulation, about digital marketing, and the future well-being of young Nigerians. Let's take a closer look at what this report reveals and why it matters. While I'm just going to talk plainly about this morning because where will I start from? First of all, this issue needs plain talk, because what stood out to me in the report, although I just glanced through scanned through the report rather, and the report is from the Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, working with Vital Strategies. It's not just about, when I looked at the report, I noticed it's not just about the products themselves, these products, but it's about what is happening now, the timing, what is going on right now, because cigarette smoking is no longer fashionable among young people. You see, that shift did not just, how should I put it, happened by accident. There's been years of health warnings, there have been school education, there have been so many social pressure made about smoking and making smoking look more like, outdated. So most of this tobacco industry now notice that, okay, we have to make money, just like what we are talking about, the alcohol ban, and now that manufacturers, sellers and whatnot are coming out to protest that, how are we going to survive? So for years there has been advocacy against smoking cigarettes, and some set of people earn a living from these products, indirectly, whether they even use it or not, but this is where they get their money from. So it must have been that they noticed that, okay, we have to change. We have to look for another strategy. Maybe people stop smoking because smoking has been painted as, very bad, So instead of retreating, most of these industries, what they did is that they adjusted with the system. So what we are seeing now is not even innovation for health. It is innovation for survival. That is what we are seeing. So they have to make it. I think it was on the show we brought an education, children and health advocate, where he came here to talk about vaping amongst children. And Idea TV is going to be working on that soon. Vaping amongst children, how it is being. They use different flavors. They make it look like, these days they make it look like candy laders, like sweets that children can, take. So even when your child is taking it, you wouldn't notice quick. You would think, oh, my child is taking some sweet or the other thing, and then children start misbehaving. We have, these days we have so many children battling with mental health. I think was it sometimes last year, towards the end of last year, one of these mental health homes came out, and I think during the mental health and advocacy month or week, an organization came out and they were talking about how we have so many people in mental homes and so many people in, how do they call, where they keep... so many people in rehabilitation centers and whatnot, and they were talking about that the surge is becoming a problem. So we have to look at all of these things because these companies understood something simple, that they cannot sell old habits. So what they did is that they repackaged the addiction, they repackaged what they are selling to people, and the painful part is that they are repackaging it now, not just for a particular targeted age. Now it's for, they're saying it's more like everybody can, no limits with age group. So instead of, ashtrays of smoking instead of all of those the traditional way of smoking we know before that will make you look some certain ways. They kind of modernize it. They're using slick devices now. You just see somebody with a pen in their mouth and you'll be like, what's this cute stuff? And it's more like a flex. It's more like something that will make you feel, among. And you're like, what's this cute stuff? I think if you even lit a cigarette and you put it in your mouth, people will be like, who be this Agboro or something? I mean, you get that kind of thing. Old fashioned, who's this hoodlum? But now, they use bright colors. They use, fruity flavors. The language they even use. I've been researching and I've seen some of the sachet. I bet you not. You are not going to believe that is nicotine or something. You are going to think it is sweet. I've seen how these things are packaged, and I was very surprised when I used it. Even the language, the names, you cannot tell easily that they are selling marijuana and whatnot. You cannot tell easily that all of these things are packaged in this beautiful pack with this name. You are going to hear Choco.
Talk about
these.
creativity.
Talk about creativity, talking about innovation we talk about, and this is not innovation that is leading us to the right path. So once a product start looking like this, a gadget start looking like this, sachet start looking like, people will treat it not like a drug anymore. They'll feel like, okay, it's something cool, it's something we need to be a part of. So that this to me is a worrying shift. Is about.
Indeed, I think first of all, the pandemic done with deep study around this subject of drug in the country. We've left responsibility to NAFDAC alone, or the regulatory agencies, or the police, or of Nigeria to declare a state of emergency on the use of hard drugs and narcotic products in the country. We need to deploy all of our resources as a nation. Nigeria has one of the largest youth population in the world. We cannot let our youth to fall prey of this beautiful, this innovative or creative way of making them addicts. Because at the end of the day, we get a youth population that is addicted, that is not responsible, and that is dangerous to the survival and the continuity of this country. Because when you have people who can't think well, who are influenced, who are under the influence of these drugs, they make irrational decisions. When they are grieved, you hear people cutting each other's head off, you hear boyfriends and girlfriends stabbing people to death, and you hear people going to clubs and taking acts of violence against one another. These people are not okay. They're under the influence. And when you have it at a very juicy price, when you have it openly, when you have it creatively done, it becomes enticing. It becomes more welcoming for people of different age group, or for people who are not even interestingly enticed by cigarettes. They will be enticed by the products that they now see, the creativity that is being woven into the product. So we need to deploy all of our resources, and the federal government of Nigeria also needs to impress on the state government as well that this is not the work of the federal agencies alone. States must also declare states of emergency in their own state and deploy own resources to be done. The last time I was in Liberia was early this year, and the counties are working together with the federal government, and communities are also working together to ensure that anywhere that they see these people coming around, gathering or selling things like this, they go there, they arrest them, and they prosecute them immediately. So everybody know that once I do this, there's a consequence for it. We need to bring out laws that punish harshly people that are producing, people that are selling, people that are marketing, people that are aiding and abetting the transfer, the sale of this product in Nigeria. And we also need to look at our children, young people in the country, people that are of age or even below the age that is accessible to use this product. We need to look at them. In schools, can we begin to bring out drug tests? for drivers as well. When you're going for your driver's license, can you take drug tests? When you're going to universities, take drug tests so that they can know the kind of people that they are being taken into their own institution. So different institution needs to contribute to this crisis. Contribute to solving this crisis, I mean. So when we look at churches, religious institutions, mosques, when we look at different stakeholders like government agencies, religious agencies, community leadership, community policing. So all of these are the different stakeholders that must put hands together to able to ensure that we solve this problem. Because in the next 5 years, when we have people that are addicted, then we need to provide more resources for rehabilitation centers. We need to deploy more resources to ensure that to secure the country, because these people behave irrationally when they're under the influence. So when you solve the problem now, you prevent resources that should go into providing adequate facilities or making life better for people, to preventing these people from becoming a nuisance in the society in the long run. So I think this must be done. But we cannot do it alone. The government cannot do it alone. Regulatory agencies cannot do it alone. And the federal government, I must say, cannot do it alone. Local government, state agencies must also put resources together. And most importantly, families. Because that's the primary responsibility of the family, to ensure that the people that are coming out of your home are not becoming nuisance. So the family structure as well, when we come to extended family, I mean, this is an African country, and we have a culture, particularly in Nigeria, that ensures that your child is everybody's child. My child is everybody's child. And we have a responsibility to look after that child. I've seen videos where there are people that they call Egbo in Yoruba land, see young children drinking, and they look for cane and flog them and take that thing away from them, or report them to their parents. But nowadays we see people behaving as if they cannot be sanctioned, or behave as if they cannot be corrected any longer. Don't correct my child. Don't tell that my child has done something wrong, or you don't have rights to tell me what I'm doing is wrong. We need to be able to have people that we are accountable to or responsible to, so that when we have this done within our own communities, within our own families, it's less burden on the government, so that they can deploy resources to where necessary.
I think you spoke very well about, the government, where the government needs to come and, play their own role. And another thing that came to my mind as you were speaking, I'm just thinking about, because, I mean, if we want to, if I want to speak in practical terms, and let's do a reality check now, because sometimes there's little to how much families can do. And this is not me saying families do not have a role to play, because we're in a digital world now, and this digital world, I do not just take it as pressing computer. It's like even up here. I mean, I always tell people that our future is written in codes. So I think even up here, the mindset and everything. I'm just looking at the roles influencers play. Like I told you, I've been carrying out a research on this issue, and the part that is mostly of concern to me is the role influencers play, because most of the time, I think with this, I think we have for a long time underestimate how persuasive soft power comes to play here, how persuasive soft advertising comes to play here, how influencers, how celebrities, how all these our entertainers, what they do, how they come to play in such cases, because most times we see them use them in music videos. You open the internet and then you're seeing your favorite artists coming down coming to the airport, bowling in and with something lit in their mouth, and they're making it seem very, very, cool, especially if it's dressed like a lifestyle content. So everybody will just feel like, I mean, it's not even a sales pitch again. They don't do it that way. They make it like a lifestyle, like it's a normal thing. You see the likes of, I'll call names, Whiskey, Burna Boy, and the likes of them smoking on the internet, and people see it that is cool. And you know how much celebrities have influence on people. So when I look at this thing, I tend to look at the soft play here. And like I said, we're in a digital world. People are using phones. People are using whatnot. Sometimes you don't even know what your children are doing. You don't know what you're consuming online. And to pay attention. We know that most times we see that digital literacy is in Nigeria, in short in the world, is growing faster than digital regulation. So how much are we even, that brings me to digital space too. How much of how much do we regulate the digital space as well? What do we tell this celebrity? Okay, because you are a celebrity, you just have to come online and smoke. Because I know that there are some things you post online, especially these days, they've been taking regulation seriously on different social media apps. You post on some level of your skin, to an extent your skin is showing, and then you get that picture brought down, flagged, and is either your page is even disabled if time is not taken. So why, I'm thinking, do these things happen do they apply the same measures to celebrities? Because there are some things, there's some habits most people cultivate from my favorite person is doing this, my favorite person is doing this. So talking about influence, talking about the digital space, I'm just looking about how power, self-advertising play here. And you said something about I just feel like the regulatory issue deserves some honesty here, because Nigerians do not lack laws. I've always said that Nigerians do not lack a lot of things. There are laws put in place. But the problem is that those laws lack coordination. So we should go back to those laws. Health agencies are only looking at nicotine from the public health perspective. I'm trying to look at this issue because there are so many reports. This is not the first report. There are so many reports out there. But it's either this report is focusing on this aspect, this report is focusing on bringing awareness, which are all good, but at different stages, different point in time. Okay, this first stage, by the time it became a popular talk, it's about creating awareness that this thing exists. Children are now practicing this. Another stage, we are seeing, it is this, it is that, it's public health concerns, mental health, psychological issues. Another stage, now we have gotten to this stage. We have seen all of this issue. We have seen awareness. We have seen that it is a public health issue. We have seen that, it is affecting traders. We have seen this one. We have seen this one. Let's talk about solution this time around. Let's not just talk about, children. This is more like bringing awareness to the public, which is very important. But I think people know about this. People understand that these things exist. People understand that there are laws. But how can we start, enforcing, finding permanent solutions to this? And I think finding permanent solutions is not just about laws alone. It's not just about awareness alone. It's about shifting, first of all, changing the mindset, because it starts from, and that's, I'll go back to what you said about bringing everybody together, families, government, stakeholders that are concerned with, like us, the media as well, bringing everybody together, let everybody be at par with finding the solution to this problem, every young people as well. This is what comes to the realization that, and that's where I'll go a little. Let's leave all the big English. You as a young person, how responsible are you? Do you care about your health? Responsibility is not, it's about, because if you're not responsible for yourself as well, you cannot be responsible for the society, because whatever you damage you incur for yourself, it's what you're going to give back to the society. We cannot have mad people on the street. Our economy will not thrive. The nation will not thrive. We will not have good representation out there. So let's begin to think of the way forward. Let's think of the way forward. It's not just about the products. What regulations are we putting in place for this? Regulations that have been put in place, how are we sure they are working? Are there follow-ups? Are we checking that these things are, how do they come into the country? Who sells them? I was watching a report from one popular media outlet, and about this, about how it has taken the whole of Abuja, and how some security agencies, or agents rather, are also part of this. Sometimes in that documentary, when they seize it, they resell it. Security agents, they resell it, and the whole of Abuja is becoming is I don't know, it's becoming a place for, how should I call it, for zombies. Yes, if you go to Gariki, I mean Gariki is the Maraba, go to Gwagwalada, you see a lot of young people, and so we just need to do something about, not just I don't want us to, if it's a damage control we need at this point in time, let's do it. Nigeria shouldn't be ashamed that we are doing a damage. This particular situation needs a damage control because the damage has already happened. It is there already. So let's think about how to do a damage control, because I don't think that many people hear it and assume that, because first of all, the report says that they write smokeless just to create that idea that it is not doing damage to you. So at this point in time, we're talking about awareness. Does the person not know what he is going to buy? So we should talk about that mindset shift. Let's talk about the solution. Let's talk about the way. I think we said but let's hear from an expert point of view.
Well, I'm not an expert in this area. But we'll soon have our expert and senior analyst who's going to come up too. But I think the issue that you've mentioned, that it's not just only a concern for health alone, it's also a social issue.
Yes.
It's also an information and space
Exactly.
issue. A country cannot claim to be sovereign by only having its territorial space and airspace and all of that. The information space is also very important because the kind of information that is accessible to everybody influences the kind of behavior that they have, and it shapes their ideology and their orientation about a certain kind of things. When you watch music videos and some things are being displayed, when you have access to movies or videos from outside the country where they have a weather that is different from Nigeria, and it's somehow manageably conducive for them to smoke or to do things because of the cold weather that they have. But we have a hot weather in Nigeria. You're very hot inside, and you're putting more.
You're adding more to the hotness.
Well, we'll go on a quick break right now. When we come back, our senior analyst will be joining us to dissect the conversation. We're still Idea Morning Digest. Stay with us.
"5G technology. 5G technology promises to be a game changer by delivering ultra-fast internet speeds, low latency, and the ability to connect millions of devices seamlessly. It's going to fuel the future of smart cities, autonomous vehicles, and IoT devices, allowing them to communicate in real time. However, 5G rollout isn't without hurdles. High costs of infrastructure and regulatory issues in some regions have slowed down implementation. By 2026, the 5G market is expected to be valued at $667.90 billion, with the US, China, and South Korea leading the change. The challenge? Cybersecurity risks and data privacy will remain top concerns as more devices become connected. AI augmented development. AI is now revolutionizing software development by automating code generation, testing, and debugging. Tools like GitHub Copilot suggest code snippets in real time, significantly speeding up the development process. However, developers need to remain cautious, as over-reliance on AI tools could introduce security vulnerabilities. As companies push for faster software delivery, AI-augmented development is becoming essential for maintaining competitiveness. Blockchain technology. Blockchain is most commonly associated with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, but its potential goes far beyond that. Blockchain offers a decentralized, secure, and transparent way to record transactions, which is being applied in industries like finance, supply chain management, and healthcare. For instance, blockchain can verify the origin of products and supply chains or ensure the integrity of medical records. But blockchain still faces hurdles. Its energy consumption and scalability are major issues. By 2025, the blockchain market is expected to grow to $39.7 billion, but widespread adoption will depend on overcoming these challenges.
Welcome back. This is still Idea Morning Digest on Idea Television. The conversation has been about the rising threat of nicotine products and youth exposure in Nigeria. Now we're joined by Idea Television senior analyst Chris Ejiofor, who is with us live here in the studio. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you very much for joining the conversation this morning. It seems as though we're always bringing you national concerning issues, but thank you very much for always being there to give your own expert opinion.
I appreciate
what do you make of the assessment right now that there is a pandemic of narcotic use in Nigeria, especially amongst young people? What's your assessment of that reality?
You know, like I think I saw your topic this morning. The law has been there in Assam. The issue is enforcement. And when you show narcotic issues among the youths, it's all as a result of, I think, policy implementation. Because these laws, I think I remember Nigeria signed an act with the World Health Organization in 2015, reenacted the 2023 November in Assam. So the law is there, but such laws, the problem is with these laws is that the government seems to renege on this when it comes to implementation on Assam. Because the youths now, the base of, like you mentioned, the digital age, they watch these things, they are different platforms. And it's called that even the elderly ones are even not helping matters. All part of issue of policy relaxation. Because if you make a policy of issue of nicotine and all these things, for example, what's happening in America now is such that you see ICE going after drug addicts and the rest. Even the instruction of Maduro, Nicolas Maduro, was all part of it. Because you cannot have a society where 70% of your youth are under drugs. And we don't expect development in such area in Assam. So I think our government should look into it and either to reinforce it back, but the law has been there in Assam. The issue of law has been there. The laws issue, the national narcotic drug laws, which has been there 2015, and they enacted by other national drug issue of 2015. They're enacted, but the problem is that the government, the laws are always there, either between states or federal government. But how do you exercise it, making the law that such laws, because it bends an issue of regulation, labeling and promotions. There are always laws, even in labeling of tobaccos. There are always laws there that 50% of whatever you're advertising there should be heavily taxed. Are they working? That's the question.
Thank you for that initial assessment. But when we look at the position that has been taken, it's been portrayed as a national health concern. But we must understand that the issue of drug abuse or drug use in Nigeria, or any way the word transcend beyond the issue of health alone.
Yes.
We must also look at it from the issue of social and also societal threats for the country, while we're also looking at the resources that the country can deploy and how it's taking resources away from the federal government as and when necessary. So how do we look at all of these aspects of the society, to look at it from the health perspective, from the social perspective, from the information space, and what do you think the government should do precisely to pull resources together from, because when we're looking at regulatory agencies alone, they're always talking about, okay, how can we ban it, how can we go for the people that are selling it, or take away their factories or close it up, but we're not looking about the social issues or the economic issues or the information awareness that is being available to people. So how do you think the government can put all of this together to work?
You know, I think in the past, government made a lot of money through adverts of narcotics and tobacco-related drugs. But got to a stage, I think you hear the time they say on medicine hedges, there's always a warning and the packaging that tobacco kills and Assam. But they got to a stage, those ones are not there again. When they are there, they are not active in Assam. So all these are part of what government can do in Assam when it comes to social aspect of it. By enacting, there are areas we call national orientation agencies in those days. You go to parks, you talk to people. I don't think those are working again. In Assam, you go to park, you go to public places, inform them the issues and the effect of drugs to society in Assam. And what it affects government in terms of revenue. Government, yes, money will come, but then what is society, active society? When you have society that are not active when it comes to the youth percentage, definitely that society is gone. You understand? Because the youths are the active aspect that drives the economy of every society. So whereby you are now, the youths are, you got people who are drunk on the street, people who cannot relate again, who cannot even contribute to the economy aspect of the nation, then definitely there's a problem. You understand? Then on the health hazard is always there. Because the government can continue to put money. But when you are putting money and money is not coming back, there's no feedback of what the money you are putting in terms of controlling the drug addicts to the youth population. Definitely, it's like you are sinking the ship that's supposed to be taken to a destination. So that the economy is gone.
Lastly, before I allow Cynthia to ask her own questions, another aspect that I think we haven't touched yet is the issue of international collaboration and partnerships. Because we've seen that, like you mentioned, when Trump came for the second term, he also had the issue with China about narcotics. He imposed tariff on China.
Yes.
So what leverage do you think Nigeria has with our neighboring countries and even with international partners to ensure that the traffic of these narcotic drugs is not being coordinated by companies or institutions abroad, and what's our collaboration with international agencies like the Interpol or even our own border security officials when it comes to the custom or the civil defense? How are we collaborating with our international counterparts to ensure that we even stop this problem before it's being imported into our country?
Actually, I think you are right. When it comes to issue of regulation, the government has a lot to do. Because most of these things, they don't come to our land borders. Most of them come to the sea and the air. Majority of them on these particular areas of entry. So we should have I think we have regulatory agencies when it comes to I think the immigration should be part of it. We have them even at the airports there. What is the control mechanism when it comes to people bringing in these narcotics? I know the NDA, I think they are doing their best in terms of testing and carrying out other drug tests at the airport and the entry points. But the problem is that they are still complicit. Some of the government agencies are still complicit to some of these things. You see today saying just somebody, a woman of 26 years old carrying about 90 kilograms of drugs from Pakistan. You mentioned capital, Indonesia. These are things. These things leaves that their destination to our final destination, coming from their end to our end. How do they enter the country? It boils down to what we have, the regulatory aspect at the airport. So all these things are so the government can collaborate with agencies of these countries. But how can you identify? Because these areas is just an allegation. You cannot go to country and say, look here, most of the drugs coming to our country is from your end. It's a delicate issue. So the idea is for you to fortify your entry point and not the other where it's coming from. So if you're able to fortify your entry point, you will see the airport and the land, making sure you have because I know immigration always they work in collaboration with NDLEA. You see NDLEA agents in part for every entry point. You see NDLEA. You see I think immigration and other agencies there. But how do they function properly?
But when we look at Nigeria with our porous borders, so there are different entry points in the country, like you mentioned, the airports, the seaport, and all of that. But we have a large sort of land that's not even manned. So these people can easily come in here. So that's where I think the government needs to focus more on intelligence gathering and how they can be able to stop this traffic before it comes into the country. Because when it comes in, then it becomes widespread. You can't really get it at a very large quantity from one letter in the container. Once it gets into the country, it's distributed across the country, and you can't really actually enforce that actually. But thank you. Thank you for that response.
In the earlier conversations we were having before you joined us, I think Wally emphasized on something which is very important, which is, how should I put it, responsibility and also the consequences, because I think there's been this argument that things we experiment. Children will experiment. They are growing now. You know that kind of, that idea that everybody, when you are growing up, you will experiment.
Yes.
So in this case that we are saying, teens will experiment, children will experiment no matter what. Is it or some people also say, because I've talked to some young people who practice this habit, and they are like, it's a choice. It's not going to do anything to you. It's just a choice. So talking about responsibility, talking about mindset shift, talking about the consequences too. So at this point in time, where should responsibility lie in this given situation? Is it the parents? Is it the schools? Is it the government or the children?
I think the responsibility goes to foremost the government, but these are the regulatory aspect of it. The government. Then it now trickles down to parents too, because most of these guys come from home. You understand? You can't tell me that today, because it starts from cigarette. You go to a stage, cigarette will no longer, they see it as a minor things again. They now graduate into a different aspect of narcotics and drugs, and they still see nothing in it. And some of the parents knows it. You understand? So, but the problem now is that the agencies involved. At times, at times they go to raid public areas. At times you see police go to raid public hotels and the rest. And at the end of the day, either they will tag them Yahoo boys. But at the end of the day, some of them, because all this goes hand in hand. Whether Yahoo or the understand, the scamming team, also narcotics get involved. That's why all these related drug areas and related crime scenes, they are interwoven. You see the people who cause scammers. There's a lot of hard drugs there, cocaine. But you won't go there, go and get it, and they get it free of charge. No, that's not that there's any restriction. They supply to them directly and they consume it. At the end of the day, it falls back to society. So the problem now is that government should enforce the regulation aspect of it, while parents too should look back and look at how you bring up these kids, because it's all boils down to the same thing. Don't, like I mentioned earlier, when we're talking about blood and the rest, the same thing is happening. When you see them in the morning, they're half gathered. They park their cars, are big guys. They park their cars, they sit in my street there. And they say, come and drop for us here. You give them money, they buy the hots, sachet hots, and they drop it there. The ones who have money, bring them bottles of drinks, and they go. And every morning is a ritual. In same thing in Abuja here, as I'm coming to work there, they already got that. It's a routine thing. So the government sees them and throw you see an enforcement agent passing there, go to his eyes somewhere. At times you see them now, come to see them, go around there. I'll give you an example of what happened. So when in Lagos, we got to a place, we went to we just went to have a drink in one of the joints there. A policeman a police team forgot their walkie-talkie there.
Wow.
After becoming part of them, taking two of those things. You understand? So this is a part of societal problem. Yes. They forgot their walkie-talkie, imagine. And of course we are coming in. We are there, so so all this is a societal problem. You understand? So that's it. So I say the government we have to look inwards and purge ourselves of certain laws.
Indeed, but when we look at the sanctions that are being imposed on people who are practicing this in the country, I would compare that to what other countries are doing in the world. Because if we look at the example of El Salvador, when Bukele became president and he declared war on gangs, or when we look at the former president of Philippines, Duterte, when he also declared the war on gangs and drug cartels in the country, and we look at that heavy-handed consequence or discipline that he imposed on this country. Many international rights groups, human rights associations, Amnesty International and the likes have raised concerns about the inhuman treatments that are being meted against these people. Because the videos when you see from El Salvador, these people are stripped down, their heads are shaved, they are put in a prison cell that looks like a cage, but it has been able to quell the violence in the country. So if we run the democratic system in Nigeria, we say that you can't just take people and put them in jail like that. So can we look at these examples of countries that have been able to solve this problem? We understand that despite the progress that they've made, it's still there, and the human rights abuses that are also a part of that enforcement.
Exactly.
So how can we look at what lessons do we, if we're not taking outrightly, but what lessons can we take from Bukele and Duterte's strategy, and also to implement that in Nigeria? Because if care is not taken, I should put it that way, in the next 5 years or 10 years, like Cynthia's mentioned, we'll have zombies. So what do we do? Do we take examples from this?
Yes, certainly we must take examples. That's the way forward. Because we look at countries like Colombia,
El Salvador,
the money that all the southern countries, Philippines, even this recent one, Peru, some of them, all the southern countries, South American countries, are out complicit of most of these things because they live by, they made a lot of money. Imagine the number of kilograms of narcotics seen in what's his name? This man of the one that was captured recently by the U.S. Maduro. Because of this, yes, underground cell there. What they have is kilograms, what billions of dollars that were seized by the FBI. You understand? So the state too are part of this is because there's big money in drugs and greed. You understand? That's why most of these countries you can't stop them from this. The only thing that you have to control it. But there's like you said, the war going on between the Colombia president then and the cartels was a heavy. It was more or less even in America today. The Congress last yesterday we are even mentioning that some of this handedness used by Trump is against the legal process. They are still questioning him for understand. So the issue of legality will come in when we are enforcing certain things. But then because of if you now make two of them to come together, you cannot move forward. We are doing the legal aspect of it and what is happening in the reality. You understand? There are crimes. These are crime syndicates. International crime, and they continue to do it. You understand? Then the government must enforce. That's where it comes in. Your question comes in. Must commit to enforce the law and make sure that people are punished, whatever it costs them to do. There are some people are punished so that.
So no Bukele style and no Duterte style.
No. Enforcement, yes. It was try to enforce it and make the appropriate punishment. Whoever is involved, or agencies that are involved. But it takes a lot because at times it comes with a high cost when you want to control certain things. You understand? The government and the government apparatus in terms of enforcement agencies and the rest have to come in, be high-handed on it when it comes to enforcing laws. You understand? So that's it for me.
I don't think even not taking care of yourself has a human rights consequence. Exactly. Human rights consequence. Still talking about consequences, talking about enforcement. I'm just looking at the tax, the new tax policy, and I'm thinking how it's going to come in cases like this, because we are in a country where we are complaining about not having money, about poverty every now and then, and I'm wondering, how do young people afford this nicotine? Because they are not cheap. They are not cheap. I thought they were carrying out my research. They are not cheap.
No, they are not cheap.
They are not cheap at all. So I'm wondering, we do not have money in the country. People are complaining of poverty here and there. But children, young people have access to these things. They can afford it. How can they afford it, first of all? So what are we doing about tax in what are we doing about tax in Nigeria? Do you think that taxing these products heavily can be a tool to, a realistic tool here in Nigeria to kind of curb the situation?
Yes, the tax laws are there when it comes to taxing, heavily taxing on these things. I think it's 50% tax goes to the issue of narcotics and tobacco-related drugs. 50%. Even those ones, in terms of labeling and advertisement on it, it comes to heavy tax, just to make sure that you discourage those who are part of the system. But despite that, it goes on. You see, that's where issue of addiction comes in. Addiction is that you see somebody will sell his father's assets in order to get into drugs. That's the truth. But the issue of this is part of societal issues. Societal issue, because I can tell you there was a lady who went, at times it goes with the the big quote, the big men society are involved. Many of them are into this. You see, we're talking about the lower cadre. The higher echelon of society are involved in most of these drugs. If you take most of these big men, how the drugs they take, how the cocaine, the rest they take it, the coke in the morning they take it, and they sell because the money comes in. Because money is associated, every money is associated with almost of these evils. And they can access it with the money they have. So it's a societal issue actually. That's why I believe when we are saying that most of this comes from the home. And society now have a heavy influence on these evil tendencies we're talking about. So it's more about
people in the position of power that are also susceptible to
heavy.
What kind of leadership do we
Looking
at the various stakeholders that we have, we see that most of this intervention are being done by the federal government precisely, and sometimes states also come in place to deploy resources to support, usually is to support what the federal government is doing. So what do you think can be done differently from the state and the local government level? Because when we look at the issue, it's also different from state to state, maybe in another. I'm sure if we carry out more research on it, we know that what is being used maybe more in one part of the Nigeria might be cocaine, another might be marijuana, another might be another thing. So I think the problem is local, and the solution too should also be local.
Yes.
So it cannot be from the federal government alone. So what do you think the state and even the local government can do differently to push their own resources to solve this problem, rather than just supporting federal government?
I think there's always a collaboration between the state and the federal government, but at different level anyway. You see some states like Kano. I know Kano have Hisba, which is the religious aspect of it. Coming into it, so they are there. The problem is that what of the federal agencies who are to distance? Because the states, okay, talk about local governments. Yes, you can always educate people at the local level. You understand? In terms of depending on enforcement, and the enforcement could come either to the agencies like you see, Ministry of Health. In those days, Ministry of Health can usually come in, or those who understand. You see somebody whose wife is trying to deliver. The man goes outside and starts looking for where to get cook first, where to get himself. You understand? So this is, and they're selling within the local places, just like you mentioned in the local government. At areas you don't expect, you see them. The motor parks that are there. Just ask a motor park there. Where can I get this?
How do you get? You're putting passengers
at risk, yes.
Even your life at risk, but it seems like that's the thing that cleared their eyes.
But they are, like I said, they are risking people's life, and these are consequences of when we have in our son, where government should come in, because the issue of when the health hazard of all these things comes into play, the national economy degrades. And that's the thing, national economy degrades because the aspect of it that you can't have society and economy where most of the people there don't think rightly. You understand? Even people who are in a top position, when the way you be involved in these things is called that your moral aspect in terms of taking decisions are no longer there. You understand? So it's all part. It's government, state government, local government must come in. It must be a collaboration between all the agencies of federal, state, and government to understand in order to tackle this menace.
Indeed. Lastly, before I let you go, sir, because sometimes I'd like to have you around for the entirety of the program. But another aspect that I want us to look at is the issue of rehabilitation efforts that are being done. When people are seen, when they come out, because there have been a lot of government and non-governmental agencies that are helping people through rehabilitation, through mentorship and care. So when they go through this process, they get out, they lose their addiction, and then you want to reintegrate them back into the society. And at the end of the day, these people become lonely. They don't have people to associate with. They don't have a job that they are doing. So it's the economic issue of this country also a contributory factor to the rise in the use of this? Because when people don't have jobs that they do, they want to clear their head. This is what they go for. When you have problems with your economic power at home, this is what you go for. When you're having trouble at work, this is what you go for. So when we look at the economic issue of the country and the progress, when we talk about development, job opportunity, we look at the large unemployment young people that we have in the country. They get to be influenced or get to associate with things like this. So what's the economic factor when it comes to this issue?
Yes, the economic aspect of it is very, very huge in terms of this issue, because, well, like you said, the younger population of the country more or less are not contributing anything to the GDP of the economy. They're not contributing anything as it were now, because of, like so many of them in the morning, like the many in the morning, who's supposed to be usefully engaged somewhere, and I said, idling away, being consoled by taking drugs and other things. They console themselves, that's it. So the issue of rehabilitating them comes in. After rehabilitating them, you must do a follow-up to make sure the person doesn't fall back to the same issue. Because that's the major thing, fall back. Because most of these things comes with the issue of, I'm not fully engaged somewhere. In the morning, they will go for drinks, from drinking to narcotics, they take all of them. In the night again, they assemble. These are people who should be usefully engaged somewhere, being part of the economic engagement of that society. But it's more or less, you understand? So it's boiled down to, if you're trying to rehabilitate them and make sure you create job opportunity. There must be the way of that's what we're talking about national economy. The economy is supposed to grow when you're having a population of people who are not fully engaged. You create, the policy comes in. As your population is increasing, you're working towards that increment in order to make sure there's no issue, there's no gap between being gainfully employed and those who doesn't have job. As it were now, the economy is pushing them into all these vices we are talking about. Many of them don't have job, and that's their grade. Somebody who finishes school 5-6 years. You can see people who are 10 years. And some of them go back to go and do their postgraduate degree and still come back meeting the same system. No gainfully employed. What do? You understand? So it's part of societal issue we're talking about. That the government must create an enabling environment for young people to thrive this system.
Indeed. Thank you very much for your contribution to this wonderful conversation. We do thank you and appreciate you for that. We've been speaking to a senior analyst, Chris Ejio, for the issue of the rising threat of new nicotine products and youth exposure in Nigeria. We'll go on a quick break now. When we return, we'll take what's trending. Stay with us.
Augmented Connected Workforce. The Augmented Connected Workforce leverages remote collaboration tools, AI insights, and wearable devices to enhance productivity. This trend is especially relevant in the era of hybrid work models where teams need to collaborate from different locations. Tools like Zoom and Microsoft Teams have become essential for communication, while wearable tech monitors worker health and safety. However, companies must balance employee privacy with performance tracking to avoid ethical concerns. The workforce management tools market is forecasted to grow to $9.3 billion by 2026. There you have it, the 20 game-changing technology trends shaping the future as we speak. Enhancing cybersecurity. As cyber attacks grow more sophisticated, cybersecurity technologies are evolving to defend against them. AI-driven threat detection systems, zero-trust architectures, and advanced encryption methods are becoming the new norm. However, keeping up with rapidly evolving threats is a challenge, especially for industries that handle sensitive data like finance and healthcare. The cybersecurity market is expected to reach $248.26 billion by 2024. But the constant need for innovation and adaptation means businesses need to stay vigilant. Robotic Process Automation, RPA. RPA is about automating repetitive tasks that typically require human intervention, whether it's processing invoices in the finance sector or automating customer service interactions. RPA is transforming how businesses operate. The benefit? Employees can focus on higher value tasks, while software bots handle the mundane stuff. However, RPA implementation comes with high upfront costs and requires maintenance. The RPA market is expected to grow from $1.89 billion in 2020 to $13.74 billion by 2028. But companies must balance automation with potential job losses.
Good morning, you're watching Idea Morning Digest on Idea Television. Now we move to what's trending. Here are the news that's been trending on social media in the last 24 hours. Nigeria's First Lady draws fire over comments on Christian attacks. We also see that Igbo businessmen donate buses to Tinubu City Boy movement. Lastly, Arik airplane makes emergency landing in Benin, 80 escape on hot. Now to the first news. Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, is facing criticism after comments made last week in the United States where she appeared to downplay violence against Christians in Nigeria. Speaking during an interview at the Four Seasons Hotel, she suggested many attacks were acts of banditry affecting all Nigerians rather than targeting religious persecution. The remarks were made during a meeting with journalist Madeleine Kiant during Tinubu's visits from Monday, February 3rd to Thursday, February 6th. She also cited cultural practices in some Sharia-governed areas, comments that critics say ignored eyewitness accounts and graphic evidence of violence against Christian communities. The reaction online was swift. Advocacy groups Open Doors reports 3,490 faith-related deaths between 2023 and 2025, with more than 200 people killed in recent attacks. The controversy comes amid scrutiny of Nigeria's spending of $9 million on United States lobbyists to challenge claims of religious persecution. So we see the video of President Bola Tinubu's wife, who was first of all recognized by the President of the United States, Donald Trump, at the Christian gathering. And she later on said that the recognition, who would have thought the recognition would happen? And people are saying that's a result of the lobbyist group that the federal government has paid money for to do their work, and also to project Nigeria's own position that there is no Christian persecution in the country. But I think it's a responsibility of the government and for someone that is not elected, who is just the wife of the president, she must be careful with the utterances that she made. She called Nigeria the bombing of Nigeria by President Trump a blessing, and welcomes more of that on Nigeria. And a lot of people have had to question that if this is what you're saying, then you're taking the responsibility away from your own government, your own husband, who is the president of the country and who says the buck stop at his own table. And now the issue of trying to deny the fact that Christians are being killed en masse in Nigeria. We understand that is the fact, but that's not the entire truth. That is how this should be framed. I think the framing is the problem. And that's when it comes to communication. Do they even have communication aids that vets the things that they say, or to look at the kind of speeches that they give? Because you cannot continue to downplay the fact that is glaring to many Nigerians, and to say that Christians are not being killed. We've seen many churches razed. We've also seen many mosques raided and people killed as well. So, and communities, farmlands, the problem is layered, it's multiplicity. So we need to be able to know how we frame things. You should say that perhaps, yes, Christians have been killed, but also Muslims have been killed, or people of other faiths have been killed in Nigeria. But when you say outrightly that there's no Christian persecution and you downplay it, I know there's a responsibility for the government to make sure that you project a certain kind of narrative, but it begs belief that these officials or their wives or people affiliated to them seems to be insensitive to Nigerians' plight, and that's how it seems to many Nigerians who are also complaining about the utterances she's made.
I mean, it's only right for people to come out and feel like you downplaying the incidents. It's a betrayal rather to victims, because first, when I first saw this, I felt a little uneasy, because the first lady of a country making this kind of statement, it only suggests to me that you are saying violence against Christians is just, according to her, is just part of banditry, and not targeted persecution. I think it's a very tricky thing for her to come out and, imply, because from I feel like this is more than just words. It's, if I want to look at it from another angle, maybe just like you say, she's trying to protect the image of Nigeria outside here. She wants to internationally, and now I get that. But she's visiting the US. She's speaking to a public, a foreign audience rather. So I'm just looking at it from the positive stance. Like I told you before, that when people came out and called out the president, that he didn't announce first that the US military came into, bomb somewhere in the northeast, and then we heard the news first from the US president, and I was part of the people that said, no, the president might be saving us from something that will cause us, because some things like this cause us our mental health as well. That they are bombing somewhere, you are scared, and it's just Christmas. It's Christmas Eve. You are scared. You feel unsafe. People that plan to go out, see families and friends, will be scared. So I just felt like, okay, it was the timing. So he wanted to just protect citizens. But then that's why I'm looking at this too from that angle, that maybe she just wants to protect Nigeria's image, out there. She may be trying to, present a narrative to avoid painting Nigeria as a war zone in a purely negative light. So I guess that's just what she might be trying to, achieve here. But then another thing is that when you cite cultural practices, I think, let me go back to that. You cite cultural practices in Sharia areas as an explanation, I think you risk minimizing the pain of those people that are truly, affected. Because it was on this show, I think, I was on the show with who, and she was saying that, if we are talking about these things, because even if we are Nigerians, we understand, but we are talking about these things because we are not in these communities where these things are happening. If we are in these communities where these things are happening, we'll get a full grasp of how these people are, feeling. So I feel like for Open Doors report, they are saying over 3,400 faith-related deaths. 3,400 faith-related deaths in the last 2 years. That's not a small number. It's a very huge number. And just this year again, more than 200 people have reportedly been killed as well in attacks that appear targeted. So these are real families, these are real communities that have been torn apart. These are real people that their livelihoods have been affected. So you can't come out and just say it as if, like you said, the framing matters here. So what I think needs to be done here, in as much as we are trying to portray Nigeria in a good light and try to also secure the country, we should just try to, I always talk about balance, find the balance. You cannot be one-sided, pushing out a political narrative that we are all together. Banditry affects everyone. Banditry, have you ever affected you? Have bandits ever visited you? So you should understand it from, that point of try to find the balance, especially as the first lady of the country, not to come out and deny the evidence. There is undeniable evidence out there that some certain groups are being attacked in the country. But I do not want to dwell, on this, because we need to move to the next story.
Wrap it up when you mentioned that trying to protect Nigeria's image, and I want to say that what's even more important for them to protect the Nigerians themselves, not only the image of Nigeria. Next, we move to another story. Igbo businessmen have donated at least 6 luxury boxes to the City Boy movement, a youth group supporting President Bola Tinubu's re-election campaign. The donation, valued at millions of naira, was led by Zenko, CEO of Zenko Group. The event was attended by Obi Kubana, Southeast coordinator of the group, and Singa Kubana, chief priest. The gesture is seen as direct support for All Progressive Congress ahead of the 2027 elections. The donation has sparked online debate with critics questioning the sidelining of Igbo interest, while supporters highlight competence over ethnicity. Comedian D1 also mocked the frugal style of Peter Obi in reaction to the donation.
People, Igbo people, your own people, look at the money they are spending. Look at money that they are spending. Look at how many buses they are buying. Only Zenko, over 200 buses. Only Zenko. Look at how many vehicles Obi Kubana is buying. Look at what Chief Priest is spending. This one a presidential election. No, they do say, they spend shishi. You are pricing granules. You are pricing granules. See the money that is going out. They are spending their money free for Tinubu. They are donating for his campaign. I don't know what you are doing. If you want to do content creation, let us know. If you want to do content creation, let us know. Look at what people are doing now. Not be say tomorrow now you go say, this election was not free, it was not fair. You go to carry evidence. Evidence will not get leg. They go court. Please, anybody that wants to be president all over the world, you must spend. If you know so you not already spend, go sit down. Everywhere good, my people. More than 10 Peter Obi, not be joke with this one. Everywhere good. Look at the way they are spending money. Tomorrow night you'll say there's enough time to prepare. Tomorrow night you'll say they cheat them, they do this one, they do that one. Nobody.
Well, I think D1 is entitled to his own opinion. And many Nigerians have also come out to share their own opinion about what it's going on. The federal government of Nigeria has not declared that, or the INEC has not declared that campaign can start. But we've seen proxies also making moves to facilitate their own steps towards the 2027 coming election. And when we look at the City Boy movement, it was created as a youth forum where young people across, and we've seen ambassadors being named. Bikubana was the chief priest being named as one of them in the southeast part of Nigeria. We've seen many ambassadors all around the country, and people have come to question the competence of the people that have been selected, or also looking at their own interest when it comes to the political affiliation that they are leaning towards. These are people who are interested in what the government are doing. They are business people, and they want to see what will profit and benefit them. So their own interest is selfish. Everybody is entitled to who they support. They have their own selfish interest, and you can't take it away from that. But I believe that everybody in Nigeria can actually begin to put their money where their case is. When D1 mentioned that Peter Obi should start spending money, was it Tinubu that donated those cars? Was it Tinubu that donated those cars for himself? So people need to begin to look at elections or governance as a part of their own responsibility as well, and not something that the government or the candidates that you support has to give you money. The people who go in America had to donate. Millions of dollars are being donated to election campaigns around the world, and Nigeria shouldn't be an exception, where we always request from that candidates to give to the people, bring money to. Of course, they spend money of their own. The party will put resources to spend money of their own, but Nigerians as well should also begin to imbibe that culture of contributing. If it's within your own locality, if it's amongst the world or the states that you can contribute to, do your own. I think Peter Obi also has the obedient movement, where they have chapters in different states in the country. So they're making their own movement. So nobody should look at the City Boy movement and say that they are not justified. They can do whatever they want to do. You might disagree with them, you might disagree with the government, but they have the responsibility, they have the right to exercise their franchise and to choose who they want to contribute or they want to support to their campaign. It might be selfish, just like I've said, but it's what works for them. Nigerians must come out in mass to do what works for us as well, and we should vote for whoever we want to vote for. Everybody has the freedom to exercise their franchise.
I mean, you said it correctly. I mean, when you talked about put your money where your mouth is, I mean, that's left to each to their own. Anything you want to do, anything you think works for you, I mean, is what works for you.
Because insult won't change
won't change anything. I don't think anybody has the right. People can only question what you do, but I don't think anybody has the right to stop you even after questioning you. I know it is important to ask questions, especially important questions when we talk about the role of wealth in politics. It's an important question because we are not thinking, does financial backing equate competence, when it comes to, or it's just an optics. So I feel like those questions are, are right. And when you talked about framing of social and that social and cultural framing. First of all, I'm even looking at this story. Let me even go back. I'm looking at this story because from the symbolic aspect of it, because what sticks to me is the symbolism in it. We're talking about a multi-million naira donations that these are not small donations these city boys movement are making, I think, and this isn't just about supporting a candidate. I feel it's about influence, it's about visibility, and also to an extent signaling competence too. And let's tie it back to something that is very peculiar with the Igbos. We know that most times, something that is very peculiar to the Igbos are very showy. They are very, they can be very out there. If they have money, they want to flaunt their, wealth and all that. And if this party or this regime or the Tinubu City Boy movement accepts or welcomes the idea, I don't think it's a bad thing, because we've known Peter Obi to even have this frugal style of, how should I put it, doing his own campaign. Just like you say, nobody has opened any grants for campaign yet, but then I don't think there's a big problem here. That's comparison with Igbo should not be doing the we're in Nigeria, we're in a country, everybody have the right to vote for who they want to vote, lobby for who they want to lobby for, campaign for whoever they want to campaign for here. So I don't see a problem where wealth is now mixing with politics and competence as a whole. If you feel that you can use wealth to push for who you feel is competent for the job, the right man for the job, I think it's a welcome idea. And I feel like this donation to feels both, like I say, political and cultural. A kind of look, we are organized. We know how to push for who we want. So this is where I'm just saying it from. We have the resources. We want to push for who we want to push for, and we are backing someone we believe in. So, like I said, it's a play of politics, competence, wealth. That is what all of it is signaling to, that's the symbolism I see in all of this. So I don't see anything really bad. I don't know, like you said, D1 is entitled to his own opinion.
Well, you can see Peter Obi as well taking his, his own behavior about it.
Exactly.
What he is doing as well. And I think it's also a proof.
To their own.
It's to their own. It's also a proof to show that Igbo people are not only, it's not only all Igbo people that support Peter Obi. So when he, maybe in the next election, when he performs better in the southeastern part of the country, shouldn't say that, many Igbo people supported him because it's Obi. You see the likes of Obana and their entire crew supporting another candidate. Now we move on to the next story. In a viral video circulating on social media, an Arik Air Boeing 737-700 operating a Lagos Port Harcourt flight made an emergency diversion to Benin Airport on Wednesday after a crew detected what the airline described as a loud bang in one of the aircraft's engines. The Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau later described the incident as involving significant damage to the affected engine. The airline spokesperson Adebanjo Ola said in a statement that the aircraft was operating a flight from the Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos, to Port Harcourt International Airport, Omagua, when the incident occurred. He said the crew heard a loud bang from the left engine while the aircraft was descending in Port Harcourt, prompting them to take precautionary action. Arik Air said all 80 passengers and crew members on board were safely evacuated after the aircraft landed in Benin, adding that no injuries were recorded. Well, this is I was going to say good news, but it's I mean it's a good news because this could have been fatal, and many people, as many as 80 people, could have lost their lives, and we haven't witnessed any crash in Nigeria in a long time. And this is a testament to the work that the aviation sector is doing, and they need to continue to look at the safety protocols and looking at the maintenance structure that this airline operates. We don't want airlines that will be operating planes. I mean, you can get second-hand planes, you can get planes that have been working for 10 years, but when we look at the maintenance capacity of these airlines and how the structure are being put in place to ensure that the safety is paramount in the operation, and not only the profit-making aspect of it. And that is the responsibility of the regulatory agency to ensure that this agency or the airlines are following the protocols are required of them. And it also says things about our facility as well, the airports that we manage in Nigeria. What are the things that are being put in place to ensure that when emergencies like this happen, do we have fire trucks with water in them? Do we have emergency services that can actually respond to a crisis such as this? So, this calls to rejig us that we need to be more prepared for eventualities like this. So quickly, what you have to say in that regard?
I just feel, first of all, the Benin airport is not a very big airport, and so I just feel like, first of all, the diverts, instead of continuing to Port Harcourt, is very significant here, and it tells me that we are making a judgment based on how should I put it, performance too here. So I applaud them for that, because that Benin airport, like I said before, isn't a massive international hub like Lagos or like Port Harcourt airport, but they were fully ready and capable of handling a situation like that. And when I watched the video and I saw some people writing that the 737 Boeing aircraft is not a small one to handle, and they were able to tackle the situation, it also speaks to the training these pilots must have received over time, handling emergencies like this. It's not something you just practice once. It shows that there have been rigorous training, good trainings as well, and they have been drilled for scenarios like this. They have been prepared for scenarios like this. They have been trained towards scenarios like that. And honestly, I think the decision could have been worse than this, and they were able to manage it and save lives. And something I also want to talk about, the airlines communication too. And so when we talk about communication, the other time we're talking about communication, I think it is something that they have practiced very well here, and they were able to put that in practice and save, go back to saving lives again, save lives. I think they have done a very good job here, and we want to see more things like that. I'm not saying we want to see more damage situations or more issues like this. I'm saying we want to see that Nigeria aviation sector and all other sectors are able to manage problems whenever it arises. Yes.
Well, that's all we have for you on what's trending. Now we go to the weather report. Let's see what we have.
I think we're saying that it's going to be sunny in most parts of Africa today. I think I noticed the same thing in Nigeria as well, in Abuja, Nigeria. I don't know of other parts of Nigeria today, but in Abuja, Nigeria, I think in most capitals in African countries, it's going to be sunny today. I wonder why that's... It's a bright day. And I guess that's a sign that it's going to be a good day as well. But this is where we end the conversation for today, not continuously. We know you have something to say, we know you want to send in your comments if you want to join the conversation, because these conversations we had today, these stories we've brought your way today, doesn't end here. If you continue the discussion with us, join the conversations on all our social media platforms at Idea Television, all our social media platforms on X, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn to get all of those credible, verified informations, and also catch a replay of this episode on our YouTube at Idea TV. But this is where we call it a wrap for today. My name is Cynthia Bassi, and of course, I have been with
Adewale Olashopo.
Okay, and this is where we say bye for now, and thank you for staying with us. Do have a productive day.